It brings me great pleasure to introduce to you first the agenda for today and then our guests. Today, in the morning, we're gonna spend all the morning with the Mission Dolores Academy team. They're gonna show how in 4 years, they have transitioned or they have created a blended learning school, which is a Catholic school, just like Perpetual, with facilities that could resemble a lot what we have at Perpetual. And not only we're gonna get the history of how they did blended learning, how they started, the challenges, the transition, and where they are right now, but also we're gonna be able to see a class in Mission Dolores Academy going on that we recorded, and its teacher, who's right here, she's gonna explain how she does blended learning, how she organizes the strategies that she does, that she implements in her classroom. So we're gonna have the privilege of having them here. So we have here the principal, Dan Stores, and 2 teachers, a first grade teacher and 7th and 8th grade teacher, Rochelle and Michelle. Then during the afternoon, and she's right here as well, we're gonna have Kathleen Tucker. Kathleen Tucker is not only a blended learning teacher, and I would say in an even more challenging environment because she's not in a blended learning school. She has been doing blended learning on her own with the limited resources that she has. She's also the writer of blended learning in grades 4th through 12th grade, and she has a new book coming out, in June or July? June. So during this afternoon, she's going to show how you personalize and differentiate instruction in a very practical way. Not only in theory, so in actually the nuts and bolts on how you personalize and differentiate instruction in a blended learning environment. So we have a little bit of challenges with the internet connection. The person in charge of all the technical support at Caparra is coming here to fix it, but we're not going to need the computers right now. We're going to need them probably during the afternoon. So don't worry about it. So between now and the afternoon, we're expecting to deal with this situation, okay? I tried to, I think I raised the temperature of the air conditioners, so if anyone feels hotter, just tell me now, but I felt that we were gonna freeze to death, so I thought that this was kind of like a extension of the North Pole, so I just raised the temperature. So without further ado, I'm going to bring here Dan, Rochelle, and Michelle from Mission Dolores Academy, and I would like you to give them a warm welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Dan. It's nice to be here. Hopefully, we just want to share with you a little bit about our school and our program. We had the pleasure of meeting some of you when you were in San Francisco and had a wonderful visit. And we want to share with you, this is Rochelle Reed, first grade teacher, and Michelle Escobar, who's the 7th and 8th grade teacher. And so they're going to share with you their program. And hopefully we want to encourage just a lot of discussion, conversation, questions that you may be having about blended learning and about our program. And I think the first, do we want to start showing the video? Before, okay. Get out of the way.
Blended learning has been an integral part of learning at Mission Dolores Academy for the last 4 years and is implemented from kindergarten through the 8th grade. From the moment a student arrives to the time they leave for high school, students are taught using a blended learning approach. Mission Dolores uses a rotational model, where students rotate in smaller groups, from lessons on the computer using online instruction, to more traditional lessons with the teacher and associate teacher. Students can also work independently off the computers in the classroom.
So we start the day before we do our rotation. I definitely explain, I go to the objective board and I explain what we're doing in each grouping with the objective, and the students repeat the objective to me. And after the objectives are repeated, we break into groups, and each group, they're either on the computers or with me or with the TA. And each group lasts approximately 20 minutes, and then we rotate the groups.
Visual cues, in this case flashing lights, as well as auditory directions, let the students know when to change stations. Students may need to be reminded to make the transition in a quiet and orderly fashion. In some cases, a teacher will provide the students with a slow countdown. The students must be seated at the next station by the time the teacher reaches 0. On the final cue, after all the groups have been to each station, the students return to their assigned seats. Again, reminders not to run or not to make too much noise are needed from time to time.
One way that the students know that they're doing a good job on the computers, I have posters, like sticker charts on the walls, and students can check those, and I encourage parents to come in and check. I kind of base technology grades off of them, and it's for 2 of the programs, it's by 5 activities completed. For every 5 activities, they get a sticker on the chart. And then another chart, another program we use is a different math program, and it's for every 10 percentile. For every 10th percentile, they get a sticker on the chart. And the benefit of blended learning is while they're on the computers, they're able to pace themselves at their own pace. And so that is a pretty stress-free work time, but it's definitely still a work time. And then in the 2 groups with both teachers, we're able to break the kids up into their levels in doing small groups. So I never really teach the whole class of 30 kids. I have approximately 10 kids in each group, and it's done at their level. While the whole class is working at the same objective, each group has their level for that objective. Well, the benefit of the 3 groups is that I can teach to the levels of the kids, so the lower kids don't fall behind. I can use more repetition with them, and the higher kids don't get bored. And I can do kind of extra stuff with them. So that's like the main benefit to the 3 groups, is that I can pace the lesson to the levels of the kids. Kind of that middle section group, they really do work on grade level Common Core. Some of them are 2nd grade, so I can push them up as needed. The higher group, they really need to be challenged, and I need to supplement materials. It's not 1st grade materials. Most of the stuff that they're getting are 2nd, 3rd grade materials, and their scores really reflect that. I have students scoring into the 4th and 5th grade based on just from the instruction that they get. They're not getting 1st grade instruction. And the lower group, we're able to scaffold everything for them so that they really can achieve those 1st grade level standards. The benefit is also that I feel like the kids have made a lot more growth in each level. So the kids that were well above grade level are even further above than they would be if they would have just stuck with 1 group or 2 groups. Those kids would have kind of plateaued and stayed where they were rather than reaching even further. And the difference in teaching the regular conventional type of classroom and a blended learning classroom, just results. But my class, I've never before had students as a group just exceed and meet goals and just improve, make the growth that they make on blended learning.
Okay, so that gives you just a little bit of flavor for our school. We are an independent Catholic school, a little smaller than your schools. We have 255 students this year. So we have one class at each grade level, kindergarten through 8th grade. We're in an inner city kind of neighborhood in San Francisco, one that's going through a lot of transition right now. And there's our last year's graduates. Why do we go blended? 4 years ago, we were actually, our program and our school in some ways is new. There's a history that goes back over 100 years at this site, which is on the site of the original Mission Dolores in San Francisco, the original settlement, European settlement in the area. But 4 years ago, there was a merger of two Catholic schools, one independent Catholic school and a small parish school that was going to close. So they merged, and we started Mission Dolores Academy. And at that time, there was a decision made to go with blended learning. Because as we thought about some of the pressures that we faced. In San Francisco, there's a lot of pressure in the Catholic schools around enrollment. There are many schools that are facing some difficulties keeping their enrollments up. And what we wanted to do, we wanted to make sure that this felt like something new, a new program that was very relevant to today's kids and families. So we wanted to provide them, and we wanted to feel that in the type of education that we were providing them. And blended learning, as we looked into it, we felt was a great opportunity to incorporate the newest tools that are out there to all of us as educators, and bring that to our families. Particularly, in our case, we were dealing with some families that didn't have a lot of technology that a lot of folks have. So we thought it was even more important for our kids for them to have exposure and experience with the technology and the wealth of resources that are out there now with new technologies. So the other thing was relationships. As these two will talk about, and you saw a little bit in the video, the blended learning allowed us to do a lot more small group instruction. So there's a lot more personal time and personal connections between the teachers and the students. And a lot more opportunities for personalized learning for the students, rather than just delivering one thing all the time and all the students receive the same thing all the time. So we liked that. We liked that it was going to strengthen our relationships with the kids. And the last thing was resources. The resources that a blended learning program brings to your school. There's, as you guys, I'm sure, well know, that there's just a wealth of resources out there on the internet. It can be overwhelming looking at what's available out there. And so we want to, it's exciting to be able to access some of that. So I think I'm going to pass mic to Rashad.